Hollywood, the land of perfect smiles, flawless faces, and endless glamour, until the surgeon's knife slips. Behind the red carpets and the retouched selfies are some of the most horrific plastic surgery disasters that have turned A-listers into expensive cautionary tales overnight. From swollen lips that never deflate faces frozen in a state of eternal surprise, to rejuvenation procedures that make everyone who sees them recoil, these 10 cases today will leave you slack-jawed shuddering and maybe canceling your filler appointment immediately. Do you think some of the stars on this list still look better after surgery? Comment 1 if you agree, 0 if you disagree. I read every single comment. Enjoy the video, smash that like button, share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit subscribe to support the channel. Now let's explore these shocking stories together. Lin May, whose real name is Lilia Guadalupe Moya, was once one of the brightest entertainment stars of Mexico's golden age. Rising to prominence in the 1970s, she captivated audiences across Latin America with her charm, elegant style, and natural beauty, which helped her become one of the most beloved dancers and actresses for decades. Her fame stemmed not only from her talent, but also from the image of a beauty goddess she had cultivated in the public eye. However, as time passed, the pressure to maintain youthful beauty intensified, and like many older artists, Lin May also faced a critical juncture in her life. Although she had always stood out for her perfect appearance, she had struggled with a minor issue since childhood, a slight facial asymmetry. Yet the decision to seek a solution did not stem from vanity or a yearning for perfection, but from a desire to feel balanced and confident with her look, something she believed would bring her peace and comfort. But sadly, her trust was misplaced. Deciding to seek out a supposed medical expert, Lin May was confronted with a tragedy when this individual injected a highly dangerous substance into her face, baby oil, which is absolutely not allowed for use in cosmetics. The consequences of this lack of knowledge were immediate and extremely severe. Her face became swollen and distorted, causing excruciating pain and leading to recurrent infections. Subsequent attempts at corrective procedures were unsuccessful, and from a star admired for her beauty, Lin May quickly became the subject of ridicule in the tabloids. Her image was disseminated everywhere without any sympathy or explanation. Now, at the age of 70, Lin May has decided to speak out publicly, not because she wants to restore her lost fame or beauty, but to warn everyone about the potential pitfalls that can happen in life. Her story is not about a superficial choice, but a cautionary tale about blind trust, the failure to select the right expert, and the silent fear that many older people often feel when confronting old age. The message Lin May wants to convey is a powerful reminder of the importance of caution when making decisions related to one's appearance. She advises everyone to research thoroughly before deciding to change anything on their body. Ask important questions and never let fear or social pressure make you irreversible decisions. Aging is not a flaw. It is a privilege, and self-confidence comes from accepting yourself at every age. Sometimes sharing stories like Lin May's is exactly what others need to hear before they face a life-altering decision. Michela Romanini, one of Italy's most glamorous high-society women, stood out not only for her luxurious lifestyle, but also for her natural beauty and distinctive elegance. For many years, she was the epitome of sophistication, always an icon of the European elite with perfect facial features that created an irresistible allure. Michaela was once a beauty and lifestyle symbol for the upper class, always admired, not only for her appearance, but also for the way she maintained a life of power and luxury. However, like many other public figures over time, she began to feel the inevitable pressures from bodily changes and age, something many in the showbiz world silently confront. As Michaela entered her middle age, the fear of aging grew. This is understandable in a world where beauty is always judged by youthfulness, freshness, and perpetual youth. In an effort to preserve her appearance, Michaela decided to seek aesthetic procedures, hoping to maintain her youth and charm. She started with collagen injections in her lips, a gentle and minimally invasive method. Initially, they were just small interventions to smooth out a few wrinkles or age-related imperfections. But gradually, these minor procedures became a series of repetitive processes, turning into a part of her life. Michaela did not just make minor changes, but gradually went further with plastic surgeries that were fundamentally transformative to her entire appearance. Each surgery gave her the feeling of moving closer to the goal of preserving youthful beauty, but it also increased her insecurity and the pressure from a society that constantly expects perfection and continuous renewal. She began to feel that her beauty could only be maintained through incessant cosmetic overhauls, and this turned into a never-ending journey, chasing a perfect image imposed by society rather than being an expression of herself. If you or your loved ones have ever felt the pressure to maintain youthful beauty, Michaela's story is a profound reminder about the choices we make in life. Think critically about the motivations behind decisions to change one's appearance and whether they truly reflect the authentic self or are simply driven by social expectations. Everyone's feelings about changing their looks are incredibly important, and every decision has a profound impact on life. Share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to follow more fascinating stories about these meaningful journeys. Carol Bryan, at the age of 47, only wished to subtly and naturally soften the signs of aging as she entered middle age. She did not want to change too much, but merely sought to maintain her refined, smooth appearance, which many other women also wished for. However, that seemingly simple decision initiated a tragic sequence of events that completely changed Carol's life. In 2009, Carol sought out a cosmetic procedure that she believed was safe and effective. She was injected with a dermal filler mixture, which included silicone, a substance not approved for facial use under current aesthetic regulations. The injections were administered into her forehead and cheeks with the hope that her skin would become smoother and younger. Initially, Carol noticed no warning signs, and everything seemed to go smoothly. However, after just a few weeks, the horrific consequences began to manifest. Carol's face started to swell, her skin hardened, and her features became distorted. What she thought would be an improvement to her appearance turned into a nightmare. She was almost unrecognizable in the mirror, and even her close friends had to pause before they could identify Carol. As her condition worsened, Carol felt desperate and began seeking help from doctors. However, the complications grew more severe, and the persistent pain forced her to withdraw from society, completely isolating herself. She only allowed her daughter to see her, avoiding contact with everyone else, unwilling for anyone to witness her terrible state. The feelings of loneliness and despair deepened to the point that in her darkest moments, Carol even contemplated ending her life. The physical pain and the alteration of her appearance had become too much for a woman who was once confident in her beauty to bear. However, by 2013, when all hope seemed to be lost, Carol found a glimmer of light. A craniofacial surgeon agreed to perform reconstructive surgery to repair the complications caused by the previous procedures. Despite being terrified, Carol decided to accept, hoping this would be her last chance to reclaim her original appearance. However, the price she had to pay for that hope was immense. The reconstructive surgery damaged a visual nerve, causing Carol to completely lose sight in one eye. Despite efforts to find recovery, these injuries severely impacted her quality of life. In the following years, Carol continued to undergo numerous surgeries, skin grafts, and other therapeutic procedures in an attempt to restore what was lost. But the physical and emotional consequences will be something she must live with for the rest of her life. Now in her late 50s, Carol has decided to share her story with the public, not just to seek empathy, but also to warn others about the potential risks involved in cosmetic procedures. Carol has gone through an excruciating process, both physically and emotionally. She has paid a very heavy price for her decision to change her appearance. Carol's story is a profound reminder to listen to your body and think very carefully before making decisions about your appearance. In a society increasingly obsessed with perfection and eternal youth, we sometimes forget that true beauty does not come from altering one's looks, but from self-acceptance and loving one's body, even as it changes over time. Carol paid too high a price to realize that natural beauty, even if imperfect, is the most important thing a person can possess. Ultimately, Carol's story is a lesson in caution, self-awareness, and most importantly, understanding that self-confidence is not the result of external interventions, but the result of loving oneself at every stage of life. If you agree with this perspective, please leave a 1 in the comments section. If you disagree, don't hesitate to comment 0. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support us. And now, let's continue with the next developments. Tara Jane McAnichie, 33, from Melbourne, Australia, has become a prominent figure not only for her dramatically altered appearance, but also for her bold pursuit of a personal ideal. She has spent over 200,000 Australian dollars, equivalent to approximately 135,000 US dollars, on cosmetic procedures aiming to reinvent herself according to an entirely new aesthetic. The result is that she has transformed herself into a real-life Barbie, an archetype that embodies modern, ever-changing, and striking beauty, one that many people simply cannot look away from. Tara's style is immediately recognizable and attention-grabbing. She confidently strides down the street in a faux fur coat crop top and tight leather pants, turning every head. Her presence highlights a contemporary, edgy, and alluring fashion image. However, Tara's appearance is not simply a combination of expensive items and eye-catching fashion. It is the product of a long series of cosmetic surgeries. Her list of surgeries is a long, continuous series including 5 breast augmentations, 6 nose jobs, rhinoplasties, and countless Botox and dermal filler injections. Her previously natural features have been transformed into an ultra-modern feminine image with exaggerated and meticulously sculpted facial characteristics completely different from traditional beauty standards. She is constantly changing, always seeking to refine her look, regardless of the beauty standards set by society. Tara's impressive transformation has garnered significant public and media attention. She has appeared on famous shows like Botched and Todd Sampson's Mirror Mirror, where her story highlighted both the allure and the potential consequences of a world increasingly obsessed with cosmetic alterations. Tara's story makes people reflect on the meaning of constantly changing one's appearance and whether we are seeking an ideal model imposed by society or truly trying to become the best version of ourselves. For Tara, beauty is not a fixed or immutable concept, but something constantly changing and flexible. She has no intention of stopping here, but continues to pursue new goals, including increasing her breast implants to 1,500 cc, a goal that many surgeons consider high risk and potentially detrimental to her health. Although doctors have warned her about the potential dangers of making this change, Tara remains determined to pursue it, believing that this alteration will only reinforce her resolve and desire to express herself in her own way. For some, Tara's journey of transformation may be seen as extreme or incomprehensible. But for her, it is a way of expressing herself and pushing personal boundaries. Tara views altering her appearance not just as a beauty treatment, but as a spiritual expression, a way for her to assert her right to live life as she chooses, unfettered by social norms. The image reflected in the mirror is sometimes not just a changed face, but also a reflection of the profound spiritual changes we pursue in our effort to become a new person. Altering one's appearance can be a powerful tool for expressing personality and individual identity, but it can also lead to complex thoughts and feelings about self-worth and acceptance. Tara's story is not just a reminder about external beauty, but also a lesson in how we shape and express ourselves in modern society. Pete Burns, the lead singer of the famous 1980s pop band Dead or Alive, was one of the most profoundly influential figures in the music and pop culture of that era. With the iconic hit, You Spin Me Round Like a Record, he dominated the music charts and won millions of fans' hearts thanks to his powerful vocals and captivating performance style. However, beyond his music, one of the things Pete Burns is most remembered for is his spectacular and challenging journey of physical transformation. Pete's cosmetic journey started humbly with a nose job, the initial purpose of which was simply to heal an old injury. However, gradually, that opened up a long quest for physical alteration. The initial surgeries were not just for improving his looks, but slowly became an indispensable part of his life. Pete Burns, who always loved being different and standing out in public, began turning to cosmetic procedures not just for the need to enhance his beauty, but also out of a desire for self-expression. Over time, Burns underwent nearly 300 cosmetic procedures, including lip filler injections, cheek implants, and multiple facial reconstructions. These changes not only distorted his appearance, but also forced him to confront serious complications ranging from infections and deformities to chronic, relentless pain. Despite this, he never abandoned this path, and instead of feeling regret, he viewed it as an act of personal freedom, a declaration of living life exactly as he wished. Pete Burns was not just a famous artist. He was also a strong advocate for challenging social norms and boundaries regarding appearance. His look increasingly transcended gender boundaries, being extravagant and unafraid to break traditional molds of beauty. The surgeries he underwent, though controversial, were evidence of a rebellion against society, a way to express a strong personality that not everyone dared to embrace. Despite doctors warning him about serious life-threatening risks, Burns continued to pursue those changes because for him, it was not an act of chasing beauty according to social standards, but a journey toward absolute freedom in self-expression. Pete always maintained that he was a living work of art unbound by social conventions or prejudices. For him, every decision regarding his appearance was not just a physical alteration, but a way to assert his identity and push back all boundaries. With all his courage and determination, Burns spent the majority of his personal fortune investing in cosmetic procedures. However, one of the notable things is that despite facing serious health consequences, he continued without stopping. Even though many people looked at him and thought he was too extreme for Burns, this was an act of self-expression, a way to live authentically without fearing social judgment. In 2016, Pete Burns passed away at the age of 57 due to sudden cardiac arrest, bringing an end to a life full of upheaval and controversy. Although the press frequently focused on his constantly changing appearance throughout his career, the legacy Pete Burns left behind is not simply confined to his physical transformations. His story also contains deep reflections on identity, self-worth, and the emotional cost of attempting to express oneself to such an extreme. For the fans who still remember dancing to his music, Pete Burns remains an icon of an era where difference was celebrated rather than feared. Pete Burns' story is a lesson in self-acceptance, in living with freedom, in choices and actions despite the limitations society attempts to impose. He was not only a talented artist, but also a symbol of courage in living authentically. Dennis Avner, widely known by his stage name Stalking Cat, was one of the most bizarre and unique figures in the world of aesthetics and self-expression. Born in Michigan, Dennis had a life full of transitions from serving in the U.S. Navy to becoming a skilled computer programmer. However, his legacy was not built upon his work or professional achievements, but from a deeper commitment aligning his physical appearance with what he believed to be his spiritual identity. Dennis's story began when he was 23, following a meaningful conversation with a medicine man who inspired him about his Huron and Lakota heritage. During this conversation, Dennis felt a strong urge to embody his spiritual totem, the tiger. This became a journey of transformation, not only in appearance, but also in personal identity, a journey he pursued with unwavering devotion and determination. The transformation began with a legal name change to Stalking Cat and rapidly evolved into a series of dramatic cosmetic surgeries. Dennis underwent a range of surgical procedures to turn himself into the model he believed was the embodiment of his tiger totem. He tattooed his entire face, had subdermal implants to alter his bone structure, underwent surgery to split his upper lip, flattened his nose, pointed his ears, and even had a motorized tail installed. In total, he underwent over a dozen permanent modifications, many of which were performed by renowned body modification artist Steve Haworth. Stalking Cat's goal was not to achieve fame or public attention, but to create harmony between his inner feelings and his outer appearance. Despite having a striking and completely different look from an ordinary person, Dennis lived a relatively quiet life. He appeared on several television shows such as Larry King Live and Ripley's Believe It or Not, and in 2008 he achieved the Guinness World Record for the most permanent modifications to resemble an animal. However, despite the public curiosity he attracted, he maintained a private life, enjoying the peace of small towns and stable work in the tech industry. Beneath his feline exterior, Dennis was a man always seeking authenticity. He was not simply an individual wanting to alter his physical form, but a person striving to express himself in the deepest way, wishing that the image reflected in the mirror would accurately reflect his spirit and inner identity. Although his choices may seem strange or incomprehensible to some, Dennis's story remains a reminder of the importance of identity and self-expression. Stalking Kat's journey is not only a testament to self-commitment, but also a profound reminder of the true meaning of living authentically. Even though the price paid might involve painful surgeries, physical complications, and continuous public scrutiny for Dennis, it was an act of freedom and the right to be himself. His story poses an important question. Is changing one's appearance a way to live authentically, or are we seeking to escape the limitations and expectations of society? Ultimately, Dennis's journey challenges us to reevaluate the nature of self-expression and individual identity, even when that path is not always easy or accepted. Yulia Tarasevich, dubbed one of Russia's famous beauty queens, was once the ideal model for natural beauty and glamour. She used to be the image of grace and confidence, and Yulia's career was closely tied to her reputation in the beauty industry. However, the story of her quest for physical perfection delivers a cautionary message about the potential unforeseen dangers that many people face when undergoing cosmetic procedures. At the age of 43, Yulia decided to seek out an aesthetic clinic in Russia, hoping to refresh her appearance in a gentle and subtle way. She only wanted a slight lift, a method to help maintain her natural beauty, without visible signs of aging. She believed that simple procedures like a facelift eyelid surgery and slight liposuction would help her feel more confident as she entered a new age bracket. However, what Yulia could never have anticipated were the terrifying complications she would have to face after undergoing these procedures. Following the surgery, Yulia not only suffered severe facial swelling, but also had to deal with noticeable keloid scars, a condition she had never experienced before. Most alarmingly, she could not fully close her eyes even when attempting to rest or sleep. Actions that seemed normal, such as closing her eyes or smiling now, became a daily challenge for her. The daily feeling of unnaturalness and discomfort left Yulia feeling utterly pained and helpless. What she wanted was merely a slight improvement in her appearance, but instead, she had to face a completely altered life. Unable to bear this suffering, Yulia decided to file a lawsuit against the two surgeons involved in her operation, Dr. Andrei Kov and Dr. Omar K. She accused them of negligence in performing the cosmetic procedures, leading to the severe complications she had endured. However, the doctors denied responsibility, claiming that Yulia suffered from a previously undiagnosed autoimmune disorder known as scleroderma, which caused the tightening of the skin. Yulia firmly refuted this explanation, asserting that before the surgery, she had never encountered any warning signs of this condition. Despite having spent a large sum of money on corrective treatments and therapies, Yulia has accepted that her face may never return to its original state. She understands that no matter how much treatment she undergoes, the marks left by the cosmetic procedures will be a part of her life, and she will have to learn to live with them. Yulia's story is not only a reminder of the potential risks of cosmetic surgery, but also a strong warning to all those seeking physical perfection. Cosmetic procedures, no matter how common, can still bring unpredictable complications that not everyone is aware of. Before deciding to undergo any surgery, always make sure you have thoroughly researched the doctor, the clinic, and the treatment methods. Although age may change all of us, the emotional burden of regret can last much longer than any fleeting external beauty. Yulia's story is a reminder that when you decide to change your appearance, consider it carefully and always be certain that you are choosing the right path. Thank you for watching our video. If you found this story useful and inspiring, don't forget to like this video and share it with your loved ones. To ensure you don't miss out on other fascinating videos and interesting stories, please leave a subscribe to the channel to support us. Thank you very much and see you in the next videos.